And one of the great things about the English language is also one of the bad things about the English language, which is that words have multiple meanings, right? Words have multiple meanings. The word dope can mean drugs, can mean idiot, can mean cool. All depends on context, right? And even things that are great or are wonderful, we all have different definitions of what level of wonderful. I look at the NBA Finals and the Milwaukee Bucks lead 3-2. And I, unlike some people, I ain't giving it. They have not won it yet, and it was an incredible fight for them to win the last 3 games. There's no reason to believe it won't be an incredible fight for them to win one more game. It's just a reasonable, honest way of looking at it. Giannis Antetokounmpo is probably going to win the MVP, right? Probably going to win the MVP. In the postseason, in the NBA Finals games, right? He had his first game, not great, 20 points. But remember, he was coming off of a knee injury where he missed the last 2 games of the Eastern Conference Finals. Then he had 42-12 in a loss, 41-13-6 in a win, 26-14-8 in a win, 32-9-6 in a win. Right? Because he's the 2-time MVP, he's the most likely to win the MVP. And in all honesty, I don't think it's crazy to say he's the most valuable because go back to Game 3 and the big block was Giannis. You go to Game 5, and though he missed a bunch of free throws, shot 36% from the free throw line, the alley-oop finish and dunk was Giannis. Like, he's a huge part. But what is your definition of value? And there are going to be people who say Chris Middleton, because Chris Middleton has had, especially once they started winning, Chris Middleton's last 2 games, 40 and 29 points. He was the only guy who showed up in Game 1. He was terrible when they lost in Game 2. I would make the argument to you that the series changed. The series changed when Jrue Holiday started picking up Chris Paul full court and really harassing him and pressuring him. Now, it's going to be hard for him to win the Finals MVP, even though he had 27 and 13, because so oftentimes we just look at the box score, and Jrue hasn't shot the ball well. Right? Like, he shot the ball very poorly against the Suns in Games 2 and Game 5. He was awful shooting the basketball. Awful. He ended up with 13, 7, and 7. Okay, but what is the value to what he does is, 1, even if he's not making his shots, you still think he can make shots. 2, he's an unbelievable defender who has been the I don't know what bites off the head of the snake, but he has bitten off the head of the steak. That's the expression. You bite off the head of the snake. His toughness, his tenacity, his defense, his 3 steals in both the past 2 games, his ability to, you're not going to shut out, but slow down Chris Paul and frustrate Chris Paul and exhaust Chris Paul, to me, is the biggest or second biggest reason they're winning this series right now. The MVP is much like your definition of what your definition of is. What do you consider valuable? Can you only consider valuable the number of points you score? Or can you consider valuable all the other little things you do? It's a great question. I would guess that Giannis will still win it, right? Because he was the MVP that people would say he can't shoot, and he hasn't exactly proved them wrong in terms of not being able to shoot, but for the most part, he hasn't taken those shots.